word on this. Okay, and then share screen. Okay, here we are. So this is Shloka 3. So before starting, we'll just offer obeisance to Srimad Vyasadeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukhaṁ karoti vachalam pandam. Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurudevam. Narayana namaskritam naram chaiva narotavam devim saraswati yatam tato jayam udhirayat. Nashta prayasya bhadrishu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Okay, so Shloka 3. Shri Raju Vacha, so Maharaj Parishit. Indrasyani vriter hetum shrotum ichhami bhomune yenasan sukhino deva harer dukham kutobhavat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, O great sage, what was the reason for Indra's unhappiness? I wish to hear about this. When he killed Vritasura, all the demigods were extremely happy. Why then was Indra himself unhappy? Sometimes there is some sports game, tennis match, for example, Wimbledon. And then when there's a final and there's a final, hit, and the one player, he wins, and then he throws his racket high in the air, he jumps, and he's very happy. But so in similar situation here, Indra won, but he is not happy. So obviously it's very confusing. So Maharaj Parishit is asking Shukadeva Goswami, what is the reason? Although he won, he is not happy. Purport. This, of course, is a very intelligent question. When a demon is killed, certainly all the demigods are happy. In this case, however, when all the demigods were happy because of Vritasura's having been killed, Indra was unhappy. Why? It may be suggested that Indra was unhappy because he knew that he had killed a great devotee and Brahmana. Vritasura outwardly appeared to be a demon, but inwardly he was a great devotee and therefore a great Brahmana. Herein, it is clearly indicated that a person who is not at all demoniac, such as Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, may outwardly be a demon or be born in a family of demons. Therefore, in terms of real culture, one should not be considered a demigod or demon simply according to birth. In his dealings while fighting with Indra, Vritasura proved himself a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Furthermore, as soon as he finished fighting with Indra and was apparently killed, Vritasura was transferred to Vaikuntha Loka to become an associate of Sankarshan. Indra knew this, and therefore he was morose at having killed such a demon who was actually a Vaishnava or Brahmana. A Vaishnava is already a Brahmana, although a Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava. The Padma Purana says, Shat karmo nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharada avaishnava gurur nasyad Vaishnava shvapacho guruhu. One may be a Brahmana in terms of his culture and family, and may be expert in Vedic knowledge, mantra tantra visharada. But if he is not a Vaishnava, he cannot be a guru. This means that an expert Brahmana may not be a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. A millionaire may very easily possess hundreds and thousands of dollars, but a person with hundreds and thousands of dollars is not necessarily a millionaire. Vritasura was a perfect Vaishnava, and therefore he was also a Brahmana. So point is being made here that the Vaishnava is higher than Brahmana. That Vaishnava is already, by his virtue of being devotee of Vishnu or Krishna, that he's already a Brahmana established in the mode of goodness, while Brahmana may or may not be a Vaishnava. Brahmana, he can be Mayavadi, he can be impersonalist, he can be, Shaiva, so many things he can be, and he can be in the mode of goodness. He can have a qualities of Brahmana, but still, if he is not devotee of Krishna, pure devotee of Krishna or Vishnu, then he is not to be accepted as guru. And sometimes devotees, they're born like Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj in Asuric families. So Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, they're members of the Dhanavas. It's a race of Asuras, which is located below the Bhumandala, below the earth. It's not even this planet. But sometimes even on this planet, the demons are born in families of Brahmanas. For example, we have example of Ravana. He was a Brahmana, but he was a demon at the same time, and that's why Lord Ramachandra killed him. And also during Lord Krishna's appearance, we have many asuras, including Kamsa, appearing in Brahmana and Kshatriya families. So the Varnashram system that considers only a birth, not guna and karma, is Asuric. It's called Asuric Varnashrama. And we should not be followers. We are not followers of this Asuric Varnashrama that recognizes the birth as criteria to determine one's position. No, guna and karma. So qualities and activities is what matters to determine who is a Brahmana, who is a Shudra. So one can be born in a Shudra family or even in a Mlecha families, but if he's a Vaishnava, he's immediately Brahmana. He's automatically Brahmana. But of course, there are, people who are smartas, who have very narrow-minded conception of Varnashram system, and they consider that the birth is the main and the only criteria. So that's why we have asampradayas like Jata Goswamis, and other smarta sampradayas, asampradayas. Of course, we have Sahaja Sampradaya. So these are two different, extremes. Sahajiyas and Smartas. They're both not pure devotees. They may perform some devotional service, but their devotional service is not pure because of their conceptions. So Smartas in particular, they have very, very narrow-minded conception of devotional service, and they like to strictly follow rules and rituals, but without consider the essence. What is the essence of it? That the bhakti is the essence of it, not rules and regulations. So they follow rules and regulations just for the sake of following. And so there is that tendency. People have tendency either to lean to this side, to the smarter side, or to the sahaja side, to take everything very easily. But no, the right part is the middle part. You're not either sahaja nor smarta. You accept the essence. You accept the qualities of devotee as the most important, and activities, of course. One has to prove that he's a Brahmana by his qualities and by his activities. If I'm just born in a Brahmana family, but I smoke ganja and I do so many other things, well, what is the use of me being born in a Brahmana family, having a Brahman thread? On the other side, if somebody is not born in Brahmana family, he's a devotee by his qualities and by his activities, he should be accepted as a Brahmana. Yeah, I think it was Jata Goswami, when Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was doing Naudi Mandal Parikrama in 1920s, 100 years ago, because he was so vigorously preaching about pure devotional service, excluding smarta Brahmanas. They made a plot to kill him, but luckily they were not successful in their attempt. But they saw him as their enemy, because he threatened their hereditary position, because they they thought that it's only their right to have a temples to initiate. On the other side, Saraswati Thakur, he was initiating thousands of people and many were joining, so they were very much envious. So they even wanted to kill him. So these are the activities of the demons in the bodies of Brahmanas, born in Brahmana families. So that's why this is how the Varnashrama system degraded into caste system in India. So in this way, the Varnashram was lost. Okay, let us continue. If you have any questions or comments, please interrupt me anytime. If not, we'll continue.
Yes,
Mataji, please.
Yeah, in the last paragraph, the purport,
Okay.
it is said if a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana, we know that according to the application, is that we shall have to take the second initiation that we become a Brahmana, then we will be a Vaishnava Brahmana.
Yeah, these are all outward symptoms. First initiation, Harinam. Second initiation, which is Diksha, where you get Brahma Gatri. But for example, some gurus, even in ISKCON, they don't give, Brahma Gatri to the ladies because they say, oh, they never in the past got a second initiation, Brahma Gatri, but they give Pancharatric mantras. So these are all outward symptoms. Even first and second initiation, they are kind of external things. You might get initiation, but you might not be really qualified. You might still be basically very much neophyte devotee. You might be still much contaminated by modes of rajas and tamas. So you might not really be a brahmana. You might not have a brahminical qualities, even if you have a second initiation. On the other side, somebody might not have taken formal initiation, but he might be practicing for many years and is very much sattvic. So he might be a Brahmana by qualities. So again, the initiation is also not the assured sign who is Brahmana, who is not a Brahmana. We have to see the qualities.
Why do we place so much emphasis on deity worship only second initiation then? I mean, why do we not look at the qualification as a Vaishnava first and foremost, rather than the formality of a Brahmin thread, which actually doesn't mean anything as for a Vaishnava anyway, because there are no Brahmins in Kali Yuga.
The thing is that to have some objective measure of the qualities in organization in a society like it's very difficult. Who is going to judge? Because it's so much subjective. I can say, oh, he has a Brahmana quality. Somebody else will say, no, he doesn't have. He told me this, he told me that. So it would be very difficult to put it in practice. That's why we take this external symptoms. Oh, he got a Brahman initiation, so he can go on the altar. It's who would judge it? Who would judge it? This is the question. How would you put it in practice? So that's why we follow these external things like initiation, which is better than birth, but still it's far from being perfect. But at least the person have undergone some skara. So because this initiation, diksha especially, second one, is some skara, and it's a purifying, and he's got the mantras for deity worship, and he can now perform deity worship using the guru given mantras. So whether he's qualified or not qualified, that's another thing. But to put it in practice in organization, it's difficult. I don't know how that would be. Who would judge it? You need a body to actually recognize who has these qualities, who doesn't have these qualities. It's not always that visible to everybody. Yeah. And anything else on this? If not, we'll continue. Shloka 4. Shishuka Vacha Vritra Vikrama Samvigna Sarideva Saharshibhi Tadvadayartayan Indram Naichad Bhito Brihadvadhat. Shishadeva Goswami answered, when all the great sages and demigods were disturbed by the extraordinary power of Vritasura, they had assembled to ask Indra to kill him. Indra, however, being afraid of killing a Brahmana, declined their request. So Srila Vishnu Chandra Thakur comments here, the Devatas requested Indra to kill Vritasura. Indra did not desire to kill him because he was afraid of killing a Brahmana, Brihad Vadhat. So yeah, Indra, I think he had some experience already in the past. Yeah, what was the Brahmana he killed in the past? It was his own guru. What was the name? Anybody remembers? Before killing Vritasura, he cut off the head of his priest, whom he engaged.
Vishwarupa?
Yeah, Vishwarupa. Yes, thank you, Mataji. And that time, he was chased by simple reactions. So he had experienced that killing a Brahmana is actually, in Dharma Shastras, killing a Brahmana is considered the worst sin you can commit. It's killing a cow, and then even worse than killing a cow is killing a Brahmana. There's no more sinful reaction apart from killing a Vaishnava, of course, because by killing a Vaishnava, you also commit, great aparadha, Vaishnava aparadha. So in gradation of sins, this is the greatest. Next, Indra Uvacha, Stribu Druma Jalar Eno, Vishwarupa Vadodbhavam, Vibhaktam Anugrinadbhir, Vritra Hatyam, Kwamarjamyaham. So Vritta Hatya. King Indra replied, when I killed Vishwarupa, I received extensive sinful reactions, but I was favored by the women, land, trees, and water, and therefore I was able to divide the sin among them. But now, if I kill Vritasura, another Brahmana, how shall I free myself from the sinful reactions? So previously, he somehow managed to distribute the sin between the women, who therefore once a month they get their period, and trees, they get this sap flowing from them. The water gets polluted by bubbles. I forgot how the land received the reactions. So he was lucky last.
The land become desert.
Yeah, desert.
One
Thank you. Thank you, Mother. Yeah.
One fourth of the land.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank
So
you.
last time you say that Dubai, this country, was full of a desert, and then people took birth there. Maybe they were born a previous life. They kill a Brahmana.
Oh,
last time you told us.
I forgot. Yeah, but yeah, if you're born in a desert as the result of, well, if you're born in Dubai, it's not that bad karma because there's a lot of money now there. People are rich there because they have oil. But if you are born in some African, Sahara desert, that's really, some reaction to suffer. In the Middle East, all Indians now, they go to work in the Middle East. So it must be also some good karma there. Okay, Sloka 6. Shishuka Vacha. Rishayastad Upakarnya Mahendram Idam Abruvan. Yaja Yishama Bhadramte Hayamidhena Masmabhai. Shishudeva Goswami said, hearing this, the great sages replied to King Indra, O King of Heaven, all good fortune to you, do not fear. We shall perform an Ashwamedha sacrifice to release you from any sin you may accrue by killing the Brahmana. So this is the karma kanda procedure. You do a sin, and in order to atone, you need to do certain activities like this Ashwamedha sacrifice, which is quite big sacrifice. I think you need to do 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices in order to become Indra. So sometimes Indra is very much afraid of some kings on earth performing one Ashwamedha sacrifice after another, because he thinks so they may take over my position by getting Sukriti to this Ashwamedha sacrifice. So now, yeah, they give you a prescription, like when you go to the doctor and you're sick. So doctor gives you a medicine. So medicine for killing a Brahmana here is Ashwamedha sacrifice. So since nobody can do it today, I don't think that there is such a medicine that works in the Kali Yuga, apart from the chanting of the holy name, of course. But medicine in a Dharma Shastra like Ashwamedha sacrifice. 7. Hayamidhina Purusham Paramatmanam Ishwaram Ishtva Narayanam Devam Mokshase Pijagat Vadhat. The rishis continued, O King Indra, by performing an Ashwamedha sacrifice and thereby pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Super Soul, Lord Narayan, the Supreme Controller, one can be relieved even of the sinful reactions for killing the entire world, not to speak of killing a demon like Vritasura. So the point of this Ashwamedha sacrifice is pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not just atonement. So you want to please the Lord, and then as the secondary effect of that, you are relieved from sin. That should be the proper mentality. Not that I want to get rid of sins. That's why only I'm doing these sacrifices. No, I want to please Narayan. I want to please Vishnu. 8 and 9. Brahmaha pitriha gogno matrihacharya hagavan shvada pulkasakovapi shudhyaran vasya kirtanat tam ashramedina mahamakyana shadham vitosmabir anushtitena hatvapi sabrama characharantvam na lipyase kim kala nigrahyana. Translation: one who has killed a Brahmana, one who has killed a cow, or one who has killed his father, mother, or spiritual master can be immediately freed from all sinful reactions simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Narayan. Other sinful persons, such as dog-eaters and chandalas, who are less than Shudras, can also be freed in this way. But you, a devotee, and we shall help you by performing the great horse sacrifice. If you please Lord Narayan in that way, why should you be afraid? You will be freed even if you kill the entire universe, including the Brahmanas, not to speak of killing a disturbing demon like Vritasura. So here they give a list of all worst heinous sins: killing a Brahmana, a cow, father and mother, or guru. These are the worst possible sins one can perform in this world. But even those sins can be eradicated by chanting the holy name. So even if somebody is low-born, and that means low birth generally means sinful reactions from previous life. So immediately, as soon as one is born in such a low degraded condition, it is to be understood that he has performed some sins in a previous life. Otherwise, he wouldn't be born in such a position. So even those people who are born in such degraded backgrounds, if they take shelter of the Lord and the holy name of the Lord, they can be freed from all sins. Purport. It is said in Brihad Vishnu Purana, Namno hi yavati shakti, papa nirharane hare, thavat kartum na shaknoti, patakam pataki naraha. Also in Prema Vivarta by Jagadananda Pandit, it is said, Ega Krishna Nam Papir Yatta Papak Chai, Bahujan me say papi, korite narai. This means that by once chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can be freed from the reactions of more sins than he can even imagine performing. The holy name is so spiritually potent that simply by chanting the holy name, one can be freed from the reactions to all sinful activities. What then is to be said of those who chant the holy name regularly or worship the deity regularly? For such purified devotees, freedom from sinful reaction is certainly assured. This does not mean, however, that one should intentionally commit sinful acts and think himself free from the reactions because he is chanting the holy name. Such a mentality is most abominable offense at the lotus feet of the holy name. Namno bhaladyasya hipappa buddhe. The Lord's holy name certainly has the potency to neutralize all sinful activities, but if one is repeated and intentionally commits sins while chanting the holy name, he is most condemned. So which offense is this one in the list of the 10 offenses? Anybody remembers to commit offense on the strength of the holy name? I think we usually list it as the 7th offense. What? Just 1 second here. So such a mentality is most abominable if one commits sinful acts, and so we already mentioned that we cannot just take external symptoms and signs like one's birth or even formal initiation as the indicator of somebody's position and advancement, because they can be misleading. There were examples of people who were even activities, can be misleading. There are people who are strictly going for Manga Arati every day, but then at home they were abusing, children. There were such, sexually abusing children. So I don't know what was that mentality, but they probably thought, okay, let me go to the temple and in this way I will clean my sins. So they were devotees, but with the sinful mentality. Okay, let's continue. So this verse is named the performers of various sinful deeds. In the Manu Samhita, the following names are given: a son begotten by Brahmana and born from the womb of a Shudra mother is called Parashava or Nishada, a hunter accustomed to stealing. A son begotten by Nishada in the womb of a Shudra woman is called Pukasha. A child begotten by Kshatriya in the womb of the daughter of a Shudra is called an Ugra. A child begotten by Shudra in the womb of the daughter of Kshatriya is called a Kshatta. A child begotten by Kshatriya in the womb of lower class women is called Shvada or dog eater. All such offspring are considered extremely sinful, but the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so strong that all of them can be purified simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The Hare Krishna movement offers everyone a chance to be purified, regardless of a birth or family. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abira Shumbayavana Kasadaya Yenye Chapapayad Apashrayashraya Sudyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. Kiratas, Hunas, Andras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abhiras, Shumbas, Yavanas, members of the Kasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of devotees of the Lord, for he is the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Even such sinful persons can certainly all be purified if they chant the holy name of the Lord under direction of a pure devotee. Herein, the sages encourage King Indra to kill Vritasura, even at the risk of Brahma Hatya, the killing of a Brahmana, and they guarantee to release him from sinful reactions by performing an Ashwamedha Yagya. Such purposefully devised atonement, however, cannot relieve the performer of sinful acts. This will be seen from the following verse. So these sages, they are Karmakanda Brahmanas, and basically they encourage Indra to commit sin and then later to atone for that sin, which constitutes offense. Intentionally, sinning on the strength of the devotional service or on the strength of the holy name. So Prabhupada is making that point here. Other thing that I wanted to mention, that all these, tribes that I mentioned here, low-born, means those who are born in these tribes perform sinful activities in previous life, and that's as a result of the sinful reactions, they were born in this low-born tribes. So previously, in the past, the qualities in the Varnashrama would match the birth. So most of those born in the Brahmana families, they had Brahman qualities, but of course they would need to qualify later to training. And those that were born in the low families, they had degraded qualities, and also because they were born in such a background, that means that they also had impure habits, because those who are outside of Varnashrama, the habits of such people might not be very clean and proper as per the rules of Varnashrama. But still, even if one is born in such degraded background, by some previous, good karma or fortune, he can raise himself up. So that's why we do not accept division for varnas according to birth, but according to qualities. Although in the past, generally these qualities would match the birth, but nowadays, especially in Kali Yoga, nothing matches anymore. Everybody is a Shudra. Kalau Shudra Sambhava. Everybody is said to be born in Shudra. Even those born in so-called Brahmana families, they are also Shudras, because their habits are also degraded, so they cannot be accepted as Brahmanas. Although they trace back, if you go back to in the past, their ancestors might have been Brahmanas, but somehow the family tradition degraded, and when the tradition was lost, the qualities were lost, and they were all indulging in bad habits like meat eating, drinking, and other things. So definitely they cannot be called Brahmanas, even if it's a so-called Brahman family. Just recently, somebody pointed to me how the vegetarian population in India, how it's distributed. And you would expect that, in South India, you would have large, percentage, because the tradition, somebody might say, oh, it's still preserved there because of the Sri Sampradaya or Ramanuja Sampradaya. But percentage of vegetarians in South India is, less than 1%. Less than 1%, 0 point something. So all those Brahmanas who are in the Brahmana families but eat meat, they're not vegetarians, how can they be accepted as Brahmanas? But then we have states like Rajasthan, and I think, what is the maybe Maharashtra? No, the Gujarat and Rajasthan, they have the highest percentage vegetarians, maybe 40% or something. West Bengal also has very, very low percentage of vegetarian population, apart from Muslim population. All Hindus, if they're not devotees, they eat fish. So there is no question of somebody not being a devotee and being a Brahmana. Okay, next one. Shishuka Vacha. Evam sanchodito viprayer marutvan ahanad ripum brahmahatya hatte tasmin asashada rishakapim. Shrishdeva Goswami said, encouraged by the words of the sages, Indra killed Vritasura, and when he was killed, the simple reaction for killing a Brahmana, Brahmahatya, certainly took shelter of Indra. After killing Vritasura, Indra could not surpass the Brahmahatya, the simple reactions for killing a Brahmana. Formerly, he had killed one Brahmana, Vishwarup, out of circumstantial anger. So you can say it was accidental, circumstantial anger. But this time, following the advice of the sages, he killed another Brahmana purposely. Therefore, the sinful reaction was greater than before. Indra could not be relieved from the reaction simply by performing sacrifices for atonement. He had to undergo a severe series of sinful reactions. And when he was freed by such suffering, the Brahmanas allowed him to perform the horse sacrifice. The planned execution of sinful deeds on the strength or chanting of the holy name of the Lord or undergoing prayashchita atonement cannot give relief to anyone, even to Indra or Nahusha. Nahusha was officiating for Indra while Indra was absent from heaven, was going here and there to gain the release from his sinful reactions. So again, Prabhupada discourages intentional sinning with the idea to atone afterwards. So we as devotees should be extremely careful not to commit sins. That's why we are given 4 regulative principles which protect us from committing sinful reactions. If we break them, means we are committing sin. And if we do that with the intention, oh, next day I will just chant the holy name, I broke the principle, but no problem, next day I'll go to the temple, I do some offering, do some puja, I'll chant the holy name, it will be all very easily erased. Just one name is enough, to finish all worse sins. So I just did a small sin, so no problem. This mentality is very dangerous. It consists aparad, offense with the holy name. So chanting Nama Aparad for many lifetimes will not yield any result. The spiritual advancement will be practically nil. So that's why Prabhupada was so much stressing that everybody who is taking initiation vows not to commit sinful activities. So we should consider these regulative principles, our vows, as something very much sacred. Okay, I'll go to the next one, 11. Just let me see till which shloka we go today. Oh, all the way to the 11th shloka of the 14th chapter. So I guess we have to rush. Tayendrasma sahatapam nivritir namum avishat hrimantam vachyatam praptam sukhayantyapi no gunaha. Following the advice of the demigods, Indra killed Vritasura, and he suffered because of this sinful killing. Although the other demigods were happy he could not derive happiness from the killing of Vritasura. Indra's other good qualities, such as tolerance and opulence, could not help him in his grief. One cannot be happy by committing sinful acts, even if one is endowed with material opulence. Indra found this to be true. People began to blaspheme him, saying, "This person has killed a Brahmana for the sake of enjoying heavenly material happiness." Therefore, in spite of being king of heaven and enjoying material opulence, Indra was always unhappy because of the accusations of the populace. See, Indra has to worry about his reputation also. Even earthly kings, they have to worry about their reputation. That's why modern governments, they have a huge media machine that is working for them, trying to present them in the good light. Although they may be the worst rascals and thieves, addicted to so many sinful activities and committing crimes behind the back of the public, still they're paying the TV stations, newspapers to present them as the very good persons who are doing very good things for society. So Vishnu Thakur comments here, Asahat should Asahat, I don't know what is this. Amum refers to Indra. Why could a person with qualities like determination not be happy? Those qualities cannot give happiness to a person who has done a shameful act and is criticized for killing a Brahmana. Yeah, if you are criticized by so many persons, this is giving a mental, emotional pain, and you suffer from that, unless you are completely avaduta and do not care what others speak about you. Okay, next one, 12 and 13. Tam dadarshanu Chandalin Ivarupinam Jaraya Vepamanangim Yakshma Grastham Astrik Patham Vikirya Palithan Kishams Tishta Tishteti Bashinim Mina Gandhyasu Gandhina Kurvati Margadushanam. Indra saw personified sinful reaction chasing him, appearing like a Chandala woman, a woman of the lowest class. She seemed very old, and all the limbs of her body trembled. Because she was afflicted with tuberculosis, her body and garments were covered with blood, breathing an unbearable fishy odor that polluted the entire street. She called to Indra, "Wait, wait." So when a person commits sinful reaction, immediately something changes about the appearance of that person, although it might not be visible to the naked eyes, but those who are, I want to say psychic, but who can see auras, there are people who can see auras. Immediately, they noticed when person indulges in negative and sinful activities, they see that their aura becomes black. Usually aura, which is energy field around the body, is kind of bright white or yellow, bright colors. But as soon as he indulges into something sinful, immediately it darkens. The aura around him darkens. So similarly here, sinful reaction can be also a person. personified sinful reaction, like this human. Purport: when a person is afflicted with tuberculosis, he often vomits blood, which makes his garments bloody. Nabugato disha sarva sahasraksho visham pate prag udichim disham turnam pravishton ripa manasam. Okay, Indra first fled to the sky, but there also he saw the woman of personified sin chasing him. This witch followed him wherever he went. At last, he very quickly went to the northeast and entered the Manasa Sarovar lake. So first he went into the sky, seeing her chasing him, he went in all directions, but she followed. Then he went to the northeast direction and quickly entered Manasa Sarovar. So he had to go under the water to escape her. It reminds me when the Durvasa Muni, after offending Maharaj Ambarish, he went everywhere, even to Vaikuntha, but he couldn't hide from the Sudarshan Chakra. But in this case, Indra managed to hide in the waters of Manasa Sarovara, which is a tirtha, which is a holy place. Sa avasat pushkaranala tantun alabda bogo yad ihagni dutta varshani sahasram alakshitonta sanchintayam brahma vadhal vimoksham. Always thinking of how he should be relieved from the sinful reaction for killing a Brahmana, King Indra, invisible to everyone, lived in the lake for 1,000 years in the subtle fibers of the stem of a lotus. The fire god used to bring him his share of all yagyas, but because the fire god was afraid to enter the water, Indra was practically starving. So demigods, they eat in a different way than we do. They eat through the shares of yagyas. And Agni, the fire god, he is the one who is delivering their shares to all the demigods. But in this case, Agni was afraid. So Indra was fasting for a long time. 16. Tava trinakam nahusha shashasa vidyatapo yoga balanubhavaha sansabad aishwarya badhanda budir nitas tirashcham gatim indra patnya. As long as King Indra lived in the water, wrapped in the stem of the lotus, Nahusha was equipped with the ability to rule the heavenly kingdom. Due to his knowledge, austerity, and mystic power, Nahusha, however, blinded and maddened by power and opulence, made undesirable proposals to Indra's wife with a desire to enjoy her. Thus Nahusha was cursed by Brahmana and later became a snake. So as soon as the Indra was gone, the sages, the Brahmanas in Swarga, they immediately had to look for another king of heaven, because Indra is a post. It's not that this one person is called Indra. Indra is a post, and different persons are changing in this post. So as soon as one Indra is gone, the post of Indra is empty, and they have to fill it with somebody else. So in this case, they look for somebody who seemed to be qualified, and Nahusha seemed to be qualified because he had a lot of knowledge, a lot of, siddhis, and austerity, tapasya, sukriti. But somehow the opulence there in Swarga was too much for him. He became completely mad after the beauty of Shachi, Indra's wife, who was still there in the palace of Indra. And he just could not, control himself. So he made some proposals to Shachi Devi, and then he was cursed. because Shachi went and complained to Brahmanas.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Prabhu,
Balaji. Yes.
how the Indra live in the water? Could you proceed to last verse, Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur's purpose?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, how can we imagine it, Indra live in the...
Okay, let us read. Yeah, let us read his purport. I just wanted to go fast because time is going. He lived unseen in the fibers of the lotus stem. He did not get any food because the messenger of Agni did not deliver his share of the sacrifices since he could not enter the water. It is not difficult for Agni to enter water since he delivers to Varuna, who is situated in the water, his share. However, this water was difficult to enter because the followers of Shiva were guarding it, and thus the sin of killing a Brahmana, which followed him everywhere, could also not enter the water. He remained invisible to all people for 1,000 years. So looks like that generally Agni can go under the water, but in this special case, Manasa Sarovara water was guarded by associates of Lord Shiva. That's why Agni could not approach Indra. And how Indra lived under the water? Well, demigods, they can do many things that humans cannot do. So they have also some cities, some power that humans cannot do. So he was able to to enter the fibers of the lotus and somehow live there. Maybe he changed his form. I'm not sure how technically it works, but he was able to live there and stay alive, although he was fasting, so he was suffering a lot. But to this suffering, his sinful reaction was gradually eradicated.
Thank you. It was so interesting.
Yeah. Well, if we would try to live under the water, but the yogis, when the yogis, even from this planet, was it that Shaubari Muni who lived under the water? Even the yogis of this planet can live under the water, so why not demigods who are much higher than the human beings? So you just need to learn the siddhi, how how not to breathe under the water, how not to suffocate or swallow the water, or whatever it is. Some yogis, you bury them under the ground, and then after a few days you come and dig up the earth and take them out, and they're still alive because they're in the samadhi, and in the samadhi practically they don't breathe. They basically suspend all physiological activities, and they can stay alive. So in the same way, I guess Indra was able to stay alive, although it was not very comfortable. Okay, next. Bhavat Trina Kamahusha Shashasa Vidyatapo Yogo Balanubhavaha Satsambal Aishwarya Madanda Budir Nitas Tirashcham Gatim Indra Patni. Oh, I read already this. Okay, so I read the shloka also, but this purport we didn't read. Okay, let us read the purport. Trinaka means Svarga. How can a human rule Svarga? So Nahusha was a king from earth, I guess. Otherwise, why would Vishwan Chakravarti Thakur pose this question? So Nahusha was endowed with knowledge, austerity, and yogic power. This means he was capable of enlisting all powers and was capable of protecting Svarga. Why then did Indra again rule Svarga? Nahusha's intelligence became blind with pride in his wealth. He had to take a snake's body because of Indra's wife. Nahusha one time spoke to Indra's wife, I am now Indra, therefore you should serve me. When he told her this, she spoke to Brihaspati. He said, tell him that you will worship him if he comes carried by Brahmanas. then he will fall down because of a Brahmana's curse. She informed Nahusha, and he came carried by Agastya and other sages, saying, "Go quickly, Sarpa." Nahusha touched Agastya with his foot. He was then cursed by the angry sage and became a snake. So Brihaspati, he was very clever. So he knew how to throw out the Nahusha from heaven. So he devised whole plan, and he told Sachi Devi what to do, and she requested him to come to her palace carried by the Brahmanas. So he engaged all the sages, which is already quite offensive. But in this process of carrying, he was so impatient that he hit great sage, great Rishi, Brahma Rishi Agastya with his foot, and then he was cursed, and that was his end in the Swarga. Tato gato brahma giro pahuta ritambara dhyana nivaritagaha papastu digdevataya hatta ojis tam na bhuya bud avitam Vishnu patnya. Indra's sins were diminished by the influence of Rudra, the demigod of all directions. Because Indra was protected by the goddess of water and Lord Vishnu's wife, who resides in the lotus clusters of Manasarovar lake, Indra's sins could not affect him. Indra was ultimately relieved of all the reactions of his sinful deeds by strictly worshipping Lord Vishnu. Then he was called back to the heavenly planets by the Brahmanas and reinstated in his position. So he stayed there, but he also did some devotional service, worshipping Vishnu. I'm not sure exactly what kind of worship he could do there, but he could meditate if nothing else. He had dhyana. It says here, dhyana. So he did meditation on the Lord, and through this dhyana, which is also bhakti, if you meditate on the Lord, he was relieved from his sinful reactions. And Vishnu Thakur recommends, he went back to Swarga by the words of Brahma and the Brahmanas, who said, "We will have you perform a horse sacrifice." Ritambara means one who preserves the truth. Vishnu, the offense of committing sin on the strength of atonement, is called agaha in this verse. The sin of killing a Brahmana is called papa. Masculine gender instead of neuter is a poetic license. Shiva is the guardian of the northeast direction, and Lakshmi resides in the lotuses of Manasa Sarovar. So if you want the mercy of Lakshmi Devi, we should go to Manasa Sarovar Lake and get some lotuses from there. Tamcha Brahmarshayo Bhyetya Hayam Medina Bharata Yathava Dikshayam Chakru Purushar Aradhaninaha. O king, when Lord Indra reached the heavenly planets, the saintly Brahmanas approached him and properly initiated him into horse sacrifice, Ashwamedha Yagya, meant to please the Supreme Lord. So first, before performing this sacrifice, he needed to be cleansed to a certain extent from his sin, and then to perform this horse sacrifice. Otherwise, if you're just a sinful man, you cannot perform horse sacrifice. Ate jamane purushe sarva deva mayatmani ashwamedhe mahendrena vitate brahmavadibehe savai tvastra vaddo bhuyan api papa chayon ripa nitasteneva shunyaya nihara eva bhanuna. The horse sacrifice performed by the saintly Brahmanas relieved Indra of the reactions to all his sins because he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that sacrifice. O king, Although he had committed a gravely sinful act, it was nullified at once by the sacrifice, just as a fog is vanquished by the brilliant sunrise. Savajime denayato ditena vitayamanina marichi mishrai Ishtvadiyagyam Purusham Puranam Indra Mahan Asa Viduta Papa. King Indra was favored by Marichi and other great sages. They performed the sacrifice just according to the rules and regulations, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul, the original person. Thus Indra regained his exalted position and was again honored by everyone. So in order to have a very high position and be honored by everyone, we can deduct from here that one should be free from sins or should have performed quite some pious activities. If somebody is famous, even in this world, on earth, we should understand that for that fame, he must have performed some pious acts in previous life. If somebody attained very high position in the society and became a president or something, again, he must have performed some pious activities in the past to put him in that position. But again, when he's in that position and he commits sinful activities, very fast he'll go down, even in this life, what to speak about the next. So it's like up and down, like a roller coaster. 22, 23, I'll skip Sanskrit here just to save some time. In this very great narrative, there is a glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. There are statements about the exaltedness of devotional service, there are descriptions of devotees like Indra, Vritasura, and there are statements about King Indra's release from sinful life and about his victory in fighting the demons. By understanding this incident, one is relieved of all sinful actions. Therefore, the learned are always advised to read this narration. If one does so, one will become expert in the activities of the senses, his opulence will increase, and his reputation will become widespread. One will also be relieved from all sinful reactions. He will conquer all his enemies, and the duration of his life will increase. Because this narration is auspicious in all respects, learned scholars regularly hear and repeat it on every festival day, and thus ends the Bhagavata purpose to 6th canto, 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavata, entitled King Indra afflicted by sinful reaction. There's no purport here. So this is the phala shruti of listening this story of Indra and Vritasura. So these are the results. You can increase the activities, of your senses. Expert in activities of the senses. Opulence will increase and reputation will increase just by listening. So one might ask, why is Sukadeva Goswami giving us this material, material motivational in the indications to motivate us to listen this, just to get our fame increase and to enjoy more. Well, the point is that there in Naimisharanya or where Sukadeva Goswami was speaking at the banks of Yamuna or Ganga, the present were not all pure devotees. There were many, different sort of rishis, munis, transcendentalists, jnanis, who might be motivated to hear these things. So in order to inspire them engage in listening of the Bhagavatam, he gives this sort of falashruti. And it's quite common in Shastra that, for example, in Ekadashi Mahatmya, after describing the glories of each Ekadashi, the falashruti is given, you attain this and that. It's to motivate people to perform and to follow Ekadashi, because people are generally materially motivated. So it's difficult to tell them, oh, you just do this for pleasure of Krishna. Nobody will really feel so much inspired, okay, for pleasure of Krishna, but they don't have a sense of Krishna's pleasure. So you have to have some material motivation for them. So it's okay, you materially motivate them, but then when they follow it, they get a taste for devotional service. They get a taste for bhakti. So in the beginning, they are motivated, and that material motivation is quite okay. Because 4 types of materially motivated persons, they approach Krishna. Nobody is a pure devotee who just wants Krishna's pleasure from the very beginning. So it is fine. They will, engage in devotional service, in listening Bhagavatam, and performing other devotional activities, and in this way they'll get purified. And then they will want to do devotional service just for the Krishna's pleasure. At the beginning, it's very difficult. Mostly people want salvation, they want to be freed from distress, or they want wealth. Rarely somebody is just a jnani who wants to understand the absolute truth. And here and there, somebody is just curious. Okay, if nobody has... Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, how to understand what lessons can we learn from this incident of Vachasura? How can we understand the lost arrangement? Actually, Vajrashura is a devotee, but apparently he is a demon. So how can we understand the arrangement of the Lord?
So many lessons can be drawn from that. Just this, that he is a devotee, he appeared as a demon. It's in itself is one lesson. And what is the lesson? That external appearance, you cannot judge by external appearance who is a devotee, who is a demon. You cannot judge even by birth. You cannot judge even by wearing a tilak and dhoti who is a devotee, who is not. But people are generally not very intelligent, and they can observe only these external symptoms, and they judge on the basis of these external symptoms. But it is also mentioned that speech is one of the main characteristics through which you can recognize who is who. It is said that the fool is not recognized as long as he does not speak. But sometimes somebody can be very expert in speaking also, and still deceive others. He might be even expert in Shastra. I know many shlokas. I might be, and then you think, oh wow, he knows so much, he must be a great devotee. But I might be a rascal, actually. I might be doing sinful activities out of public view, secretly. So it's so we should not be very rushed to judge on the basis of external appearance, who is a devotee, who is not, who is a great devotee, or who is a small devotee. Somebody is a big guru, has many disciples, he must be exalted devotee. Somebody is a small guru, has 2 disciples, he's not that advanced. These are just very, very superficial symptoms. So we should try to look a little deeper. Of course, that requires some maturity, some intelligence, some discrimination, which might take some time. So this was one lesson, and then another lesson that was actually that I already mentioned, that we should aspire for pure devotional service. Devotional service devoid of all material desires. We should not be like Indra. We should not be a mixed devotee. One who worships Krishna and performs devotional service just for his own sake, in order to ensure his high position, his sense gratification, his fame and name. We should not be like this. We should not cultivate these desires in our heart while performing devotional service. We should give up on these desires and become pure-hearted like Vritasura was. Vritasura didn't want anything in this world. So we have to come to that level that we do not want anything out of this world. That we just want to love and serve Krishna, to attain love for Krishna, to attain Krishna Prema. That should be our only goal. That's called pure devotional service. When your aspiration is just Krishna Prema and nothing else.
Mm.
And Vritasura is, and it's such a contrast here, Vritasura and Indra, mixed devotee and pure devotee. So we have Vritasura as our model, not externally, not to follow, externally, because you cannot be Asura externally, you don't want to be Asura externally, but to follow his mood, to follow his mentality, his attitude, his freedom from material desires, his desire to serve and please Krishna only. That's why those prayers of Vritasura that we read, I think, a couple of classes ago, they're so significant, and they're worthy to be read and studied. How he prays from the core of his heart, just to serve the Lord, to be with the Lord, to be united with the Lord. That hankering for reunion with the Lord is very much worthy. And because of that hankering, Krishna very quickly brought him back. He was killed, and that was actually his victory. He went back to the spiritual world, and Indra stayed to rotten in Swarga, thinking that he's enjoying. But next day, the demons will attack. He'll again be in anxiety. He'll again be in fear. Again, there'll be trouble. So there is no permanent enjoyment and happiness, even in Swarga, in the heavenly planets, in the material world. That's possible only in the spiritual world, and Vritasura went there. So we want to follow the footsteps of pure devotees like Vritasura. This is the main lesson of this story of the Bhagavata. Because, we are all devotees, but we have to become pure devotees. This is the main point. The Shukadeva Goswami, he's speaking to many different transcendentalists, and he wants to inspire them all to become pure devotees, because they're not all pure devotees who are present there, where he's speaking Bhagavan to Maharaj Parikshit. Rarely anybody. They were just sages, rishis. But after hearing the Bhagavatam, they all became pure devotees, because the Bhagavatam is giving Shuddha Bhakti, the pure devotional service, as something, is the highest goal to aspire for. So we should also look from that perspective. Somehow to develop desire to become a pure devotee, not to desire anything material. And we should also investigate, introspect what our motivation in devotional service is. What do we really want from our practice of bhakti, from our sadhana? What is our goal? Are we doing our rounds just to, because we are told, and we don't really know why? We gave a vow and we now just finger 16 rounds just to finish it, and we follow this 4 regulative principles because we are afraid we might go to hell. It's a fear-based bhakti. We don't want to stay on that level of fear. We are doing something just to avoid some negative consequences. Because we are fearful. If we do not do this practice, if we do not finish our rounds, or we do not go to the temple, or do this or that, there may be some negative consequences for us. So in order to save us from these negative things, we are just doing it, but we don't really have any taste. We are just doing it, forcing ourselves. No, it should not be like that. We should be doing with the proper proper mentality, with the proper attitude, that we want to attain love for Krishna. We want to come to the state that we'll become completely absorbed in serving Krishna, thinking of him, speaking of him, and everything else that pure devotees do. So somehow we need to motivate ourselves, and that's possible in the association of those who already have pure desires just for serving Krishna and for nothing else. Okay, I think we need to proceed, otherwise it's already getting late and we still need to cover, I think, 13 more shlokas. Not 13, 10. 10 more shlokas. 14, 11 is next time. So King Chitraketu's lamentation. Should I read the summary? Okay, let me read. In this 14th chapter, Parikshit Maharaj asked his spiritual master Shukadeva Goswami how such a demon as Vritasura could become an exalted devotee. In this connection, the previous life of Vritasura is discussed. This involves the story of Chitraketu and how he was victimized by lamentation because of the death of his son. Among many millions of living entities, the number of human beings is extremely small. And among human beings who are actually religious, only some are eager to be liberated from material existence. Among many thousands of people who desire relief from material existence, one is free from the association of unwanted persons or is relieved of material contamination. And among many millions of such liberated persons, one may become a devotee of Lord Narayan. Therefore, such devotees are extremely rare. Since bhakti devotional service is not ordinary, Parikshit Maharaj was astonished that an asura could rise to the exalted position of devotee. Being doubtful, Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, who then described Vritasura with reference to his previous birth as Chitraketu, the king of Shurasi. Chitraketu, who had no sons, got an opportunity to meet the great sage Angira. When Angira inquired from the king about his welfare, the king expressed his moroseness, and therefore, by the grace of the great sage, the king's first wife, Kritadyuti, gave birth to a son who was the cause of both happiness and lamentation. Upon the birth of this son, the king and all the residents of the palace were very happy. The co-wives of Kritadyuti, however, were envious, and later they administered poison to the child. Chitraketu was overwhelmed by shock at his son's death. Then Narada Muni and Angira went to see him. Okay, now we are going back to the previous life of Vritasura to find how he actually became what he became, pure devotee, and how also got to the Asura body. Shri Parikshit Uvacha Rajathamasvabhavasya Brahmavritasya Papmana Narayane Bhagavati Kartam Asid Drida Mattehe. Actually, not always in Bhagavatam, but the other Puranas, you find the stories of previous life of certain characters in Bhagavatam. For example, Putana, how she became a witch, who was killed by Krishna. Actually, in previous life, she was Ratnamala, which is daughter of Bali Maharaj, and somehow she ended up being a Putana. That's explained in this story. So you get the sense of the evolution of a jiva, how that jiva eventually progressed on her path back to the spiritual world. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, "O learned Brahmana, demons are generally sinful, being obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. How then could Vritasura have attained such exalted love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan?" In this material world, the modes of passion, everyone is obsessed with the modes of passion and ignorance. However, unless one conquers these modes and comes to the platform of goodness, there is no chance of one's becoming a pure devotee. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeshan tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam drida vratta. Persons who have acted piously in previous life and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Since Vritasura was among the demons, Maharaj Parishit wondered how it was possible for him to have become such an exalted devotee. Yeah, generally you would expect somebody born in a demoniac family species of life to be sinful, but actually, Chitraketu, Vritasura, he was not sinful at all. He was just cursed, and that's why he appeared there. So it's not always that it looks like from the external point of view. Devanam Shuddha Sattvanam Rishinam Chamalatmanam Bhaktir Mukunda Charane Na Prayeno Pajayate. Demigods situated in the mode of goodness and the great sense cleansed of the dirt of material enjoyment hardly ever render your devotional service at the lotus feet of Mukunda. Therefore, how could Vritasura have become such a great devotee? This question is implied by the previous statement. And Vishwanath comments, Shuddha Sattvana means in those with antakaranas, having sattva guna. Jnana develops on its own after purification of antakarana. This is not so with the bhakti, since without association of devotees, bhakti does not appear. So antakarana, it's a generic term for subtle body, which consists of few different parts like manas, chitta, ahankara, buddhi, and they all come under antakarana. So only after purification of this subtle body, of this antakarana, one comes to the sattva guna, and then to process of bhakti, he can be elevated to Shuddha sattva, purified sattva guna. Rajabhi sama sankyata parthivair iha jantava tesham ye kechane hante shrevai manujadaya. In this material world, there are as many living entities as atoms. Among these living entities, a very few are human beings, and among them, few are interested in following religious principles. Among them, some are humans, devatas, or gandharvas, but not all. And among those, some follow dharma. So today, we have how many billions? 7 billion people on Earth. And we think, wow, it's really overpopulated. It's a lot. And some people, think maybe some governments are introducing, no more than one child rule and things like that to decrease the increase of population. But actually, if you compare the number of humans to the number of other living entities living on Earth, just insects and birds and other animals, we are still in minority. The only thing is that the humans are only species that is behaving very irresponsibly, destroying the earth and exploiting the earth and exploiting others. All other species, they live peacefully, and balance is naturally maintained. Equilibrium is naturally maintained by the laws of nature. But because humans have higher intelligence and they are misusing it, then they're creating havoc for everybody, including the animals. So yeah, amongst the human species, even are rarer those who follow Dharma. Most of humans today on earth, they are uncivilized. They're mlechas and yavanas. Who really follows Dharma? Some pious people here and there. Yes, Mataji.
So in this purport, we can see some follow Dharma. Does it mean that also human beings, devatas or Gandhavas, among them, just some of them follow?
Well, I think the devatas, Gandharvas, all these higher, see, they all actually considered humans. Out of how many? 8,400,000 species of life, 400,000 are human species of life. So that includes devatas, Gandharvas, not only earthly humans are humans, but also, the Gandharvas, then Rakshasas, Yakshas, all those who are intelligent, who have intelligence which is higher than intelligence of animals, they come under the human species. Rishis.
Yeah, in Srimad Bhagavatam, I remember in Canto 3, there is one chapter is say those devatas, demigods, and Gandharvas, they belong to demigods, the category. Yeah, there is one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, we would need to look, but there are different categorizations. As I understood, this 400,000 human species includes all higher species, including asuras, danavas, daityas, who lives, below the earth, but they are in a human-like form. Devatas, Gandharvas, they're all human-like forms that have, two hands and two legs, similarly looking.
Oh, yeah.
In that sense, we say they are human species, but of course they're different. Rakshasas, for example, they can have changed many forms. They can have 10 heads, and they consider humans manusya. Yeah, the term is manusya. For humans is manusya, and it's distinctly different from Rakshasas, from Gandharvas, for devatas. It's different. In that sense, they're different, but they all can be categorized in one group in these 400,000 species, whether you call them all humans or not. So who follows? Who follows Dharma from them? Definitely, Rakshasas and Asuras, they do not really follow Dharma, but Devatas and Gandharvas, they do. They're pious. And then on earth, from humans on earth, depends what the age is. In the Kali age, very few follow Dharma because there are, some pious, Brahmanas and devotees, they follow. The rest are just karmis or vikarmis. Mostly are just vikarmis who engage in civil activities, have no knowledge of Dharma. And then previously used to be karmis. Karmis means those who follow Varnashrama Dharma strictly. So they follow Dharma. They follow Varnashrama Dharma. Here, Dharma means Varnashrama Dharma. But practically, Varnashrama Dharma is destroyed, and who is following it? Few individuals here and there, but very little. But only humans on earth, only they create karma by following Dharma. Devatas, Gandharvas, they're just enjoying the result of their previous human birth on earth. asuras also in Bilasvarga, in the subterranean heavenly planets, they join the results of their previous activities as humans. Only on the earth we are creating new destiny, new karma by our present activities. So that's why for humans on earth, it's the utmost importance to follow dharma. Otherwise, they will suffer in the next life. And of course, to follow paradharma, which is devotional service, which is bhakti, the highest dharma. Okay, 4. Prayo mumukshava stesham kechenaiva dvijottama mumukshunam sahasreshu kaschin mucheta siddhyate. A best of the Brahmanas, Sukadev Goswami, out of many persons who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation from the material world. Among many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation, giving up material attachment to society, friendship, love, country, home, wife, and children. And among many thousands of such liberated persons, one who can understand the true meaning of liberation is very rare. This is like Bhagavad Gita, Manushyan, Sahasrashu. Among so many humans, it's thousands of humans, it's very rare to find a devotee of the Lord. It's even very rare to find somebody who is just looking for liberation, because people, among those who follow Dharma, who are basically pious, most of the people who follow Dharma in Varnashrama Dharma system, they're just pious karmis who want to be promoted in the next life to the heavenly planets and enjoy in this world. This is 99% of people in a pious society as the Varnashrama Dharma is. Even what to speak about atheistic, demoniac society we have today. But you can say one so-called advantage of the present-day society is that people become very, very frustrated with their life. So they might start seeking and searching for liberation, for something higher. That's why they can become devotees, because they're so much frustrated by repeated attempts to satisfy the senses, but they are not happy. The hippies in the 60s, they were epitome of this frustrated generation who was looking for something higher in life in America. So when Prabhupada came, the hippies were those who joined him, and not pious, cultured Americans in the suits and ties. No, hippies who were using LSD and experimenting with drugs. They approached Prabhupada because they were seeking for something higher. Purport. There are 4 classes of men, namely karmis, jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. This statement pertains especially to karmis and jnanis. A karmi tries to be happy within this material world by changing from one body to another. His objective is bodily comfort either in this planet or in another. When such a person becomes a jnani, however, he aspires for liberation from material bondage. Among many such persons who aspire for liberation, one may actually be liberated during his life. Such a person gives up his attachment for society, friendship, love, country, family, wife, and children. Among many such persons who are in the Vanaprastha stage, one may understand the value of becoming a sannyasi, completely accepting the renounced order of life. So this is progressive gradation. So even karmis are rare in this world, because most of the people in the present-day society, they are vikarmis. It means they don't know what the sinful is, what is not sinful. They just do wherever their senses carry them, enjoy any sort of activity without any consideration what is good, what is not good. But the karmi is one who knows this is This is good, this is bad, this is pious, this is sinful. So he strictly follows Dharma, Shastra, in order to be promoted in the next life. Once I knew one person who was a strict brahmachari all his life, but then at one point he told me, when I asked him why you so strict brahmachari, well, because it's not that I don't want to enjoy association of ladies on this earth. No, I want to go to Swarga and enjoy the ladies there because they are millions of times more attractive. They smell like roses. So he had a goal, but he was materially motivated. But still, he knew the laws of Dharma. So he was better than a vicaris who just tried to enjoy, women or men here in a simple way. No, he was very strict. And then in next life, he'll get his reward because he abstained for whole life. So next life, he'll be able to enjoy. But of course, this is not a goal or aspiration of devotee. It's a karmi, basically, fruitive worker, but who is pious and who knows Dharma Shastra. Okay, 5. Muktanam api sidanam. This is famous sloka. Muktanam api sidanam narana parayana sudurlabha prashant atma kotish api mahamune. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayan or Krishna. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Srila Vishnu Thakur gives the following purport to this verse. Simply desiring mukti or liberation is insufficient. One must become factually liberated. When one understands the futility of materialistic way of life, one becomes advanced in knowledge, and therefore he situates himself in the vanaprastha order, unattached to family, wife, and children. One should then further progress to the platform of sannyas, the actual renounced order, never to fall again and be afflicted by materialistic life. Even though one desires to be liberated, this does not mean he is liberated. Only rarely is someone liberated. Indeed, although many men take sannyas to become liberated, because of their imperfections, they again become attached to women, material activities, social welfare work, and so on. So many men in Varnashrama would take sannyas with the desire to become liberated, but they were still conditioned. So it's not automatically just by dressing as sannyasi or even formally taking sannyas that you become spiritually advanced. But people are, again, very external, and they see sannyasi and they think, oh, because he has this danda, he has a stick, he must be advanced. And then you offer obeisances. He might be advanced, we don't know, but he might not be also. It might be just be formal outward dress of sannyasi. So again, qualities and activities are to be observed to see who is who, not just by external dress and symbols like danda. Jnanis, yogis, and karmis devoid of devotional service are called offenders. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavadi Krishna aparadi. One who thinks that everything is Maya, instead of thinking that everything is Krishna, is called an aparadi, or offender. Although the Mayavadis, impersonalists, are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna, they may nonetheless be counted among the siddhas, those who have realized the self. They may be considered nearer to spiritual perfection because at least they have realized what spiritual life is. If such a person becomes Narayana Parayana, a devotee of Lord Narayan, he is better than a Jivan Mukta, one who is liberated or perfect. This requires higher intelligence. There are two kinds of jnanis. One is inclined to devotional service and the other to impersonal realization. Impersonalists generally undergo great endeavor for no tangible benefit, and therefore it is said that they are husking paddy that has no grain. Stula tushava. The other class of gyanis whose jnana is mixed with bhakti are also two kinds. Those who are devoted to the so-called false form of the personality of Godhead, and those who understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Satchidananda Vigraha, the actual spiritual form. The Mayavadi devotees worship Narayan or Vishnu with idea that Vishnu has accepted a form of Maya and that the ultimate truth is actually impersonal. The pure devotee, however, never thinks that Vishnu has accepted a body of Maya. Instead, he knows perfectly well that the original absolute truth is the Supreme Person. Such a devotee is actually situated in knowledge. He never merges in the Brahman effulgence, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Yenye ravindaksha vimuktamaninas bhavat avishuddha bhudaya arrohya krichrena parampadam tata patantyado nadrita yushmat anugrahaya. Angraya. O Lord, the intelligence of those who think themselves liberated but who have no devotion is impure, even though they rise to the highest point of liberation by dint of severe penances and austerities. They are sure to fall down again into material existence, for they do not take shelter at your lotus feet. Evidence of this same point is also given in Bhagavad Gita, where the Lord says, Avajhananti ma mudha manushintanum ashritam param bhava janato mama bhuta maheshwaram. First, when I descend in the human form, they do not know my transcendental nature, my supreme dominion over all that be. When rascals, mudas, see that Krishna acts exactly like a human being, they deride the transcendental form of the Lord because they do not know the param bhavam, his transcendental form and activities. Such persons are further described in Bhagavad Gita as follows. Mogasha moga karmano moga jnana vichetasa rakshasi masurim chaiva prakriti mohinim shrittaha. Those who are thus bewildered, attracted by demoniac and atheistic views, in their deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Such persons do not know that Krishna's body is not material. There is no distinction between Krishna's body and his soul, but because less intelligent men see Krishna as a human being, they deride him. They cannot imagine how a person like Krishna could be the origin of everything. Govinda Manipurusham Tam Aham Bhajami. Such persons are described as Mogasha, baffled in their hopes. Whatever they desire for the future will be baffled. Even if they apparently engage in devotional service, they are described as Mogasha because they ultimately desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence. Those who aspire to be elevated to the heavenly planets by devotional service will also be frustrated because this is not the result of devotional service. However, they are also given a chance to engage in devotional service and be purified. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimatan Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantastohya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Satam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Unless the dirt within the core of one's heart is cleansed away, one cannot become a pure devotee. Therefore, the word Sudurlabha, very rarely found, is used in this verse. Not only among hundreds and thousands, but among millions of perfectly liberated souls, a pure devotee is hardly ever found. Therefore, the words Kotish Api are used herein. Srila Madhvacharya gives the following quotation from the Tantra Bhagavata. Nama Kotyastu Deva Namarshaya Saptakotaya Narayanayana sarve ye kechitat parayana. The 90 million demigods and 70 million sages were called Narayanayana, devotees of Lord Narayana. Among them, only a few are called Narayana Parayana. Narayanayana Deva Rishyadhyastat Parayana Brahmadya Kichanayavasyo Siddha Yogya Sukham Laban. Difference between the Siddhas and Narayana Parayanas is that direct devotees are called Narayana Parayanas, whereas those who perform various types of mystic yoga are called Siddhas. So Prabhupada is here warning us against Mayavada, and at one point he mentions Mayavadi devotees. So how it looks like an oxymoron how devotees can be Mayavadis. But if you go to Vrindavan, you'll see many Mayavadis dressed, in a saffron cloth and Mayavada sannyas dress, chanting Krishna's name. But still, they're considered Mayavadis because their desire is to become one with Krishna, or to merge with Krishna, to become Krishna. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have that story of, I think it was Ramdas Vishwas, when Gopal Bhatta Goswami, when he was as a young man traveling from South India to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri after his parents, I think, left. Then he was accompanied by this Ramdas Vishwas, who was constantly chanting the holy name of Lord Ram. And because he was from the lower caste and Gopal Bhatta Goswami was a Brahmana, Ramdas Vishwas, he was carrying his luggage and serving him. But when they came to Puri, Lord Chaitanya, he embraced Gopal Bhatta Goswami and gave him all attention, but he didn't really pay much attention to this Ramdas Vishwas. Why? Because he knew his heart. Although the person was chanting constantly the name of Lord Ram, still he wanted to merge and to become one with the Ram. That's why he was not given any attention by Lord Chaitanya. He could see actually what is in his heart. Everybody else would be confused. Wow, he's a great devotee. He's chanting constantly, and this is very high level, It's called Madhyamadikaryas, those who chant without stopping. And he's also serving another devotee, Gopal Bhatta. So he must be, advanced devotee. But we don't know what is in the heart. But because Lord, he's the Paramatma, he's the super soul in the heart, he can detect. This person has a very, very bad motivation, actually. He is pretending to be a devotee, but actually he wants to merge into me, to become like me. So he's not actually a devotee. So it's very difficult sometimes to judge just on the basis of external appearance, even sometimes on the basis of external activities, because he was chanting the holy name of the Lord constantly, and you would consider just on the basis of that he's a great devotee, but he was not. So only Krishna, who is the Paramatma of the heart, or one who is as good as Paramatma, he can actually judge properly who is who. Okay, I'll go quickly to the next. If there are no comments or questions, I have to skip this one because Prabhupada's comment was so long, and we have just 4 more shlokas to go. Varitras. Yes, Mataji.
Is the dress of Mayavadi different from the Mayavadi sannyasi, different from the dress of ISKCON sannyasi?
There are no hard and fast rules, but even in ISKCON sannyasis, they have different shades of dress. But yeah, they both wear longi, but generally Mayavadis, they have more kind of reddish color, kind of more red, more strong red color dress.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's quite similar. Otherwise, it's quite similar. It's longi without dhoti, without kacha, and also
yes, the danda, Prabhuji,
yes,
danda is different.
yes, Prabhu. Please.
I was saying it's the danda that's different. They have
Danda, yes. Good point. They have ekadanda, one danda. We have the Vaishnava sannyasis, they have 3 dandis. They have 3 dandas. Although when it's wrapped in a cloth, you don't really see how many dandas inside. But sometimes they also worn without the cloth. Okay, 6. Vritras tu sa katam papa sarva loko patapana hittam dridamati Krishna asit sangrama ulbane. Vritasura was situated in the blazing fire of battle and was an infamous, sinful demon, always engaged in giving troubles and anxieties to others. How could such a demon become so greatly Krishna conscious? Again, this is the external vision of Vritasura, that he was he was giving troubles to others. Definitely in the universe, everyone is afraid of him, but he was not actually sinful. Purport. It has been described in Ram Parana, a pure devotee is rarely found even amongst millions and millions of persons. Therefore, Parishit Maharaj was surprised that Vritasura, whose purpose was to give trouble and anxiety to others, was one of these devotees, even in the battlefield. What was the reason for Vritasura's advancement? So this is valid question. How did the most rare bhakti beyond the 3 gunas exist in a demon like Vritasura, blinded by the 3 gunas? Generally, those who are born in the demoniac body, like Asura, Dhanavas, all these subterranean species, they're in the lower gunas of material nature. So how to explain that the devotional service appears in such a person? Generally it appears those who first reach the sattva guna. It's much easier to practice devotional service when a person is in sattva guna. But again, bhakti is completely independent, so it can appear even in a persons who are under the lower gunas. Hippies in the 60s, they were definitely not in the sattva guna. And then you had the, smarter brahmanas who were in the sattva guna, but still they didn't become devotees. So bhakti is completely independent, and the only cause and reason for appearance of bhakti in a person is the mercy of devotee. Only bhakti can create bhakti, nothing else. 7. Atrana samshayo bhuyan chrotum kautuhalam prabho ya parushena samare sahasraksham toshayat. My dear Lord Shukadev Goswami, although Vritasura was a sinful demon, he showed the prowess of the most exalted Kshatriya and satisfied Lord Indra in battle. How could such a demon be a great devotee of Lord Krishna? These contradictions have caused me great doubt, and they have made me eager to hear of this from you. So these are contradictions, a demon and devotee at the same time. So Maharaj Varish, he's asking for clarification. And in order to get that clarification, previous life of Vritasura needs to be considered. Otherwise, just on the basis of this one life, we cannot say why. So sometimes we also just look a person, generally we look a person in this life because we don't know his previous life. But if we would know the evolution of that soul in the present body, the things would make much, much more sense. Why he is going now through this. If he would know his previous life, it would be much easier to explain. Sri Sutta Uvacha Parikshito Thasam Prashnam Bhagavam Badarayani Nishamya Shadadhanasya Pratinandya Vacho Bravit. Sri Sutta Goswami said, After hearing Maharaj Parikshit's very intelligent question, Shukadeva Goswami, the most powerful sage, began answering his disciple with great affection. So now we have a different dialogue. We are back to Naimisharanya, where Sutta Goswami is retelling Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya. 9. Shri Sukha Vacha Shrinushva Vahito Rajan Hitasam Imam Yatha Shrutan Vaipayana Mukhan Naradhad Devalad Api. Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, I shall speak to you the same history I have heard from the mouths of Vyasadeva, Narada, and Devala. Please listen with attention. I think, okay, this is the last sloka now, yes. Asid Raja Sarva Bhauma Shura Sene Shu Vainripa Chitraketur Iti Kyato Yasyasit Kamaduri Mahe. Translation, O King Parishit, in the province of Shurasen, there was a king named Chitraketu who ruled the entire earth. During his reign, the earth produced all the necessities for life. Purport. Here the most significant statement is that the earth completely produced all the necessities of life during the time of King Chitraketu. As stated in Ishopanishad, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita mahagrida kasya svidtanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Krishna, the Supreme Controller, has created the material world, which is completely perfect and free from scarcity. The Lord supplied the necessities of all living entities. These necessities come from the earth, and thus the earth is a source of supply. When there is a good ruler, that source produces the necessities of life abundantly. However, when there is not such a good ruler, there will be scarcity. This is the significance of the word Kamaduk. Elsewhere in the Bhagavata, it is said, Kamam Vavarsha Parjanya Sarva Kama Dugamahi. During the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. We have experienced that in some seasons the rains produce abundance, and in other seasons there is a scarcity. We have no control over the earth's productiveness, for it is naturally under the full control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his order, the Lord can make the earth produce sufficiently or insufficiently. If the pious kings rules the earth according to the Shastric injunctions, there will naturally be regular rainfall and sufficient produce to provide for all men. There will be no question of exploitation, for everyone will have enough. Black marketeering and other corrupt dealings will then automatically stop. Simply ruling the land cannot solve man's problems unless the leader has spiritual capabilities. He must be like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Parishit Maharaj, or Ramachandra. Then all the inhabitants of the land will be extremely happy. So here Prabhupada is giving us the recipe for happy society, meaning that the ruler should be pious, and then the earth will produce naturally abundance if the whole society is conducted in such a way that everybody acts properly. Anyway, we'll stop here. If there are any final comments or questions, if not, we'll continue next time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you all very much. Vancha kalpatrubhasya kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaham.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.